The demilitarization announced by Putin before the invasion is going according to plan, but there is a nuance. So, the month of September brought 2 records for the destruction of Russian equipment. And one of them exceeded expectations, but let's talk about everything in order. During September, a record number of Russian artillery, including mortar systems, was destroyed, namely 947 units. This is due to the fact that the Russians are accelerating the degradation of counter-battery warfare, due to the use of increasingly primitive and backward artillery means. In addition, the growing number of towed Stalin-era artillery with low mobility, decreasing range and accuracy, as well as wear and tear on the guns. The self-propelled artillery component among the enemy is becoming extremely scarce, resulting in reduced mobility. All of this leads to such high casualty rates. This is not just an absolute record for the amount of artillery destroyed. It is a critical value that Russia will not be able to compensate for. A record was also set for the number of enemy vehicles destroyed, 874 units. Even more than in the record-breaking March 2022, when Russian logistics convoys were burned non-stop. And strangely enough, the record holder among the bridgeheads where Russian vehicles were burned was Zaporizhia region. Logistics is shrinking, and ordinary minibuses are used where armored fighting vehicles should be used, with which the Russian troops have an acute deficit. In general, this is due to the fact that in this bridgehead, practically all rocket roads, and not only them, are under fire control of the Ukrainian side. Additionally, Russian forces have adopted the practice of mobile depots for ammunition and fuel due to regular and precise strikes on their rear areas. And therefore, vehicular traffic is comparable to its activity at the start of the 2022 invasion. In addition, Russian troops have fewer and fewer components with at least light armor and more unprotected vehicles. There are very few armored vehicles, and sometimes their functions are performed by non-specialized vehicles, which are much easier to destroy. It's also worth noting the number of destroyed MLRS, with 63 units destroyed, which is the second highest result during the entire full-scale war period. And this high figure is a consequence of the lack of long-range artillery in the enemy. And also the necessity to pull up rocket systems closer to the line of battle in order to strike at the Ukrainian forward rear. And as a result, Russian MLRSs fall within the comfortable range of the AFU artillery. In addition, the AFU has recently begun to regularly use high-precision M142 HIMARS for point-blank firing of Russian MLRSs. Thus, September is closing with very encouraging indicators. After all, the rates and volumes at which Russian artillery is being destroyed do not allow the Russian military-industrial complex not only to fully compensate for the losses, but even drive them into a deep minus, from which it will be possible to get out only through supplies from a third country. And the Russian troops command is not only faced with the question of where to get shells, but also where to get the guns from which to fire them.